Hello there, one and all, and thank you very much for tuning in to episode 586 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube. As always, whether you're watching the live or you're watching the recording, you are very, very welcome. We have some comments already. Perfumed by the Sea says, hello from a windy and rainy Dorset. Yeah, windy and rainy Hampshire as well. Yes, bring on autumn scents, wearing Liquide from Liquide Imaginaire today, a Mr. Biche creation. A Mr. Biche creation with which I am not familiar, I don't think. Alex is here saying, hello Mr. P and hello to everyone. My scent of the day is Or Intemporel by Lalique, which is a very nice autumnal pleasure. Don't know that one either, I don't think. And then Alex goes on to say, I love these lists, so much fun. Yvette is here as well saying hi. Milad says, good evening Mr. P from Tehran. Scent of the day, Kenzo Jungle. Men or women, both are great. I love Jungle cool shirt, Mr. P, says James. Thank you very much. I wasn't sure whether it was doing a sort of, hospital orderly, please may I take your blood pressure, but Madame Persolaise likes it, so we're going with it. I quite like it too, I suppose, but thank you very much. Does Frederick Mal make the list, says Ixabi? Well, all will be revealed soon. Shan says, hello all. Holly is here as well. CJ Lamb says, hello everyone from Toronto in Canada. Scent of the day is Sauce Snow Moon Magic. All these perfumes. I'm not sure I've even heard of that one. Okay, so you have obviously been able to tell already from the video description that it is that time again, the time that comes round 4 times a year when we do one of our seasonal top 10s, and autumn is just around the corner. The start of autumn is just around the corner, which means that summer is pretty much over. Although if you're in the south of England for the last few days, you would have thought that, summer ended quite a few days ago. And this is also an opportunity for us to, up the interaction, because I love hearing from you as well in the live chat and also in the comments on the recording. I love to hear from you about what perfumes you're looking forward to wearing this autumn. And it's also an opportunity for you to ask each other for recommendations. Invariably, if somebody posts a question in the comments, other people reply with their hints and recommendations, so please feel free to do all of that. What I will say is, if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, please do consider doing so. If you would like to find out how you can support my work, you should be able to see a link to my Ko-fi page in the video description below, and you will also find a link to my Substack. The number of articles on which is growing. I mean, it's been about 18 months of Substack now, so there's quite a bit to read there. The latest article is a review of the new Shalimar flanker, which Guerlain have released to mark the brand's 100th anniversary. Okay, here we go. We're doing 10 plus a sneaky number 1. Sorry, plus a sneaky plus 1. There's nearly always a kind of sneaky plus 1, and I think I will be able to explain to you why this one has to be a sneaky plus 1. There is nearly... Oh, Omar says, is that Fahrenheit Mini real? It is 100% real, and it's also actually a proper old Fahrenheit. There you go. And it's in very, very good condition, I have to say. So this would be quite a good way... Have I ever done a vintage Fahrenheit video? Because if I haven't, I should. I do have a proper old bottle of Fahrenheit. No, I treasure this. It's in very, very good condition. I was going to say that if Fahrenheit was still in this sort of condition, I would be saying that that needs to be on everybody's autumn list in perpetuity. But it wouldn't necessarily go with today's theme. And as I was saying... There's always a kind of loose theme, and it is a very, very loose theme that we try to follow just to help me come up with the list, really. And the theme is nearly always inspired by something that's caught my attention, that maybe something a bit zeitgeisty, something that I've heard, something that I feel is going on. And I was having a conversation with somebody a few days ago, and we were bemoaning the state of the world, I suppose, which seems like a very, very, very easy thing to do at the moment. It seems like it's been a very easy thing to do for quite some time. And then somebody said that yes, we need to do our best to try and make things better. We need to fight for the causes that we believe in. But also we really truly need to be grateful for the blessings that a lot of us have. And I suppose they're actually becoming more and more blessings that, you know, a few years ago we used to take for granted, and now we're sort of taking less and less for granted. And also to just enjoy the very, very simple but the very real pleasures that life has to offer on a daily basis to a lot of us, sadly not to all of us. And so I thought, that's it, that's going to be it for autumn. We had super joy for summer, so we're doing simple pleasures for autumn 2025. I need to read a Fahrenheit story, sorry. I've seen the words, I have a Fahrenheit story, so we need to read it. This is from EB, who says, I have an original bottle of Fahrenheit. I don't remember if I told this story, but a friend of a friend asked if I wanted to buy a box of perfume from his uncle, 2 Fahrenheits and original Bel Ami. Oh. Well, I hope you treasured them. I'm sure you did. So how does simple pleasures manifest itself in these 10 perfumes that I'm going to show you? As I say, the theme is loose, but I tried to go for perfumes that are not over complicated, which is maybe not necessarily the kind of perfume that we associate with autumn, because I think this is the time of year when people like to classically, you know, bring out their opulent heavy chypre, you know, your Mitsukos and the like. But we're not going for that. We're going for things which have personality and are by no means silly or ditzy or stupid or insubstantial, but are quite simple, not simplistic. Simple and present their pleasures in a very, very direct and unostentatious and uncomplicated sort of way. I suspect that as we start going through these and smelling them, there will be some that you will sort of agree with more than others in terms of whether they fit the theme, but that's all part of the fun of the video. And please, please, please do make suggestions of your own as well. Alex says, perfume became a real escapism for me in the last years. Yeah, I think you're not the only one. And a kind of antidepressant, sorry. EB says, oh, back to the Fahrenheit. I haven't even unsealed one of the Fahrenheits yet, honestly. I believe you. But I think the point has to come when you have to do it, because, and I hate to sort of be the one to say this, although I'm sure you've thought it already, you need to find out what condition it's in. That's always the thing with getting an old perfume. You don't actually really know until you've done the first spray what sort of condition it's in. But I think Fahrenheits tend to keep pretty well. I mean, that little mini, I haven't even looked after it especially well. Although no, that's probably a lie. It's been in a shoebox most of its life, so no, that's but I don't tend to look after my minis all that well, and they seem to be fine. Right, here we go. I think we should start with the one that's in the thumbnail. One of the ones that's in the thumbnail. The other thing that seems to have been interesting about this list is that, not through any particular sort of design or plan, they're nearly all really quite recent. They're all from this century, kind of. The kind of is the one that we're going to start with. And a lot of them are very new. Now, as you know, I like to mix things up with these lists as much as possible, and maybe talk about brands that I wouldn't normally talk about, bring in perfumes that I wouldn't normally talk about, and also try to make things a bit recent so that these lists don't just end up being a rehash of the same thing. But as I'm looking down the years on the sort of little notes I've made here, 2023, 2023, 2024, 2024, 2022, really quite recent, which is interesting. And I thought, does that say something about perfumery styles, that I only had to look back the last sort of 3 or 4 years to find things that offered simple pleasures? Have there been more simple pleasure type perfumes? And maybe there have been, because maybe perfumes in the past tended to be a bit more baroque, a bit more challenging, a bit more demanding. I don't know. Interesting. Xabi says, one of this autumn's small pleasures is listening to you. That's very, very cool. Says as he smashes the 10 bottles next to him. That's very, very sweet. Thank you very, very much. Definitely one of the pleasures for me is also doing all of this kind of thing with you and reading the comments and coming up with the lists. It's always an enjoyable experience and a bit of escapism for me as well. Okay, this is the kind of one. So originally, this emerged in 1992 as an eau de cologne, and it actually kind of defined a whole genre. But the brand have ditched the EDC now, and it is available from this year onwards only as an EDT. So at least they haven't gone the kind of, they haven't gone the parfum extrait eau de parfum. They've upped the eau de cologne into an eau de toilette, and it's also got a different perfumer according to the official credits. And it is, of course, Bulgari's vowel challenging perfume, the one with the really, really tricky vowels for those of us that that can't count French as our first language. So I'm just going to say it's Eau Parfumée au thé vert. Now let's try it. It's Eau Parfumée au thé vert. Although actually they've ditched one of the words. Look, I hadn't even realised that. So it's just Eau Parfumée thé vert. Ah, sneaky Bulgari, making it easier for us non-French speakers. And this one is credited to Jacques Cavalier and Yann Vanier. The original, of course, famously was Jean-Claude Elena. I mean, it was like the Jean-Claude Elena perfume, the one that supposedly made his name. And this, I think, is a good way to start this idea of simple pleasures, because it's the one that tries to capture the sensibility that I'm going for. Carl, he says, "Wow, I've never watched a live before the three last ones." Well, there you go. Hello from Montreal, where summer is still on. Yes, don't make us jealous. Raucous Retread says, "Greetings all. Today is my 50th birthday. Happy birthday to you. Good wishes to you. My wife and fragrance financier surprised me with a bottle of Fève Délicieuse this morning. This goes to the top of my fall and winter fragrance lists." Fève Délicieuse, is that... I mean, my memory's probably not working, but is that the discontinued Dior? It was Fève Délicieuse, wasn't it, I think? Happy birthday to you. Omar says, "This is the scent of the soaps of many Four Seasons hotels." Yes, I mean, and it has become a particular... It's become a whole subgenre of scents, because even if hotels and spas and beauty salons around the world are not using actual Eau Parfumée au thé vert, they're using clones. I mean, it has spawned a gazillion clones. But I do quite like it. I mean, I sometimes wonder if I prefer the white tea version, and I think probably if I had to choose one, it would be the white one that the thé blanc that I prefer, and I like the EDT of that one as well. But I've talked about that one a lot, so I thought, well, let's bring the original out, the kind of original. It is. It was one of the first, if not the first, tea scents, and we always need to put tea in inverted commas, because of course tea and perfumery is not necessarily the stuff that we drink. It's not even particularly green tea-ish, but what it is a big sort of citrus, bergamot emphasized, musky cologne type scent. Posh CK1 is what many people called it. I don't think that's a bad description at all, and I say that as somebody who's very, very fond of CK1. Offenlich says Eau thé vert lotion is a great product, and I can also vouch for the quality of the currently available bath and shower gel. That's very, very good too. I really miss the black tea one, says Xabi. Yeah, that is a good one, and I'm very, very fortunate that I've got a bottle. That was a great interpretation of the whole sort of idea of tea and a cologne like oud. But this is very, very direct. It doesn't pretend to be anything else, and it's very, very easily charming. It's very, very distinctive. There's nothing wishy-washy about it, even though, well, there's nothing wishy-washy about what it's trying to do and how it achieves it, even though in terms of if you were to visualize the smell, I think you would visualize it as a kind of very, very fine, pale green gauze. And, by association, it now makes us think of, as I say, spas and beauty salons and whale music or dolphin music playing in the back, somebody doing a ding, ringing a bell, and it feels very, very zen somehow. And in that sense, it's It's actually very Jean-Claude Ellena. I think he has a fondness for Eastern cultures that espouse those sorts of values, I suppose. Milad says, one of my favourite fall perfumes is Night in Yazd by an Iranian perfume house. It has an amazing Sohan accord. What, as in the sweet? The flowery, buttery, with nuts in it sweet. That stuff. Folks, if you've never had Iranian Sohan, it is one of the most addictive things you can ever imagine. It is like seriously Moorish. I'm guessing that's what you mean, Milan. Tuba says, I'm wearing Acqua Allegoria Nettare di Sole by Guerlain today, and it suits the weather so much. I love it. Excellent. And Milad is confirming that is the Sohan we're talking about. You can get Sohan in the UK fairly easily now as well. It's like... It just hardly ever lasts in this house if we ever get it, because you usually get it in a tin. You get it in what looks like a round, thin, quite flat cookie tin, but it's not a cookie tin. It has the Sohan stuff. Rita says, Mr. P, it's about time you made a foodie channel. Can you imagine, though? I think that may not be such a good idea. Anyway, we're off. It's the first one. So, Bulgari's green tea. What should we do next? Okay, I'm going to talk about this one, because this is a scent that when it came out, and it is from 2023, when it came out, I was quite fond of it. I thought it was interesting, and I remember wondering if I ought to include it in my list of the best of 2023, but in the end I didn't, because... well, I suppose I didn't think it was good enough for the top 10. Maybe I thought that it was actually a bit too simple, a bit too undemanding, a bit too... I don't want to say basic, because that's really not what I'm going... But yes, I suppose that it just presented what it was at the start and didn't yield any surprises or anything like that. And yet... I have found myself turning to it again and again and again over the last 2 years, usually at those precise moments when I think, yes, I want to wear something, but I don't want it to wear me. I want it to be pleasant without being non-distinctive and cliched, and I just find myself going for this one each time. And it is from Penhaligons, and it was composed by Fanny Ball, and it is from their oh so tastefully bottled portraits collection. It's the elephant one. It's the Omniscient Mr. Thompson. And I have a very, very special Mr. Thompson, because my Mr. Thompson's tusks were broken when he was sent to me in the post, and I quite like the fact that my Mr. Thompson is a little bit injured. I think it makes him a bit special. And let's have a spray. Anyone out there tried it? This is the one that when it came out famously had a kind of nutty, sesame seedy, papery sort of note. Mr. Thompson is so lovely, says Rita. Ah, see, one person agrees. I really dislike these caps, says Carl. No, I mean, I do as well. I mean, I think you... I don't see how anybody could take them seriously. I think you have got to think that they're ridiculous and you've got to laugh at them. Because otherwise you just depress yourself and think that they're ghastly. So you've just got to see them, I think, as being comical. I mean, yes, it's an elephant head on a... I mean, you know, it is ridiculous. It is bonkers. Kitsch, yeah, kitsch doesn't even begin to describe it, Carl, I think. I really enjoy Arthur from the Portraits line, says Clay. Now, that's The World According to Arthur, was it? That was the incense one. That was the dragon's head, wasn't it? Even more tasteful. I don't know whether that's gone. I really like that one as well. Yvette says, I loved this when I sampled it at the Soho store. Just got a 5ml decant because I hate the bottle and want to be sure. Alex says, I can't forgive Penhaligons for ditching Hermes Bouquet. When did they do that? Because their most recent version of Hermes Bouquet was really, really good, and I remember reviewing it on this channel. Anyway, what do we get from this? So you do get a roasted, nutty, sesame, kind of rice papery, irisy sort of feel. You can tell that there are going to be quite a few musks in the base, and it just stays like this throughout. There isn't any development as such, there isn't any change. That in itself is a feat, to make something that is truly, genuinely, entirely linear. And it's just very, very effortlessly likable, and I think I like what it isn't. As a sort of simple pleasure scent, I like the fact that there's not a single citrus cliche in here, that it isn't overtly or obviously woody, that it doesn't do that woody ambery thing, it doesn't overtly obviously do that iso-y super thing or the cedar thing. It's really, really interesting, and it's actually not a million miles away from another scent, which I think also came out in 2023, which has a similar kind of feel to it, and really, really encapsulates this idea of simple pleasure as well. What it has to do with elephants, I have no idea. I mean, you kind of have to ignore all of that, the animals thing with the Penhaligon scents. And it really, really does last in a quiet way. It doesn't project ridiculously. It doesn't have a huge sillage. But it's extremely well done, and I think it proves that we need to keep an eye on what Fanny Bal is doing. I know that Frederick Malle rated her very, very highly, and on the strength of anything that she's done that I've smelt, I think his confidence in her is justified. Effortlessly likable, says Matthew. The elephant makes sense now. Oh, I suppose, I guess, in a way. But a lot of animals are effortlessly likable. Arthur is still in the line, says Ralph. Ralph says, I was impressed by the longevity on this one as well. Really pleasurable wear. See, exactly. And this is what we're going for with this list. And actually, we need to keep going with the list because we've gone over 20 minutes and I've only done 2. So what should we do as the third one? Let's do a brand new one. This is brand new from, I think, an interesting brand. I haven't had a chance to review this yet. So I thought, just in case I don't have a chance to review it at all, I'll put it on this list because it's perfect from this list. It is from Sébastien Tissot's brand, Nissaba. He came on this channel a few months ago, earlier this year, to talk about his brand and to do an interview. This is their latest composition, and this is I don't know whether they sell this format, but this is a 10mm? Yeah, I think it's a 10mm. And this new one from them is called Les Alpes, or the Alps, and it is by a perfumer whose work we definitely admire. On this channel, Monsieur Fabrice Pellegrin, who's actually going to come up again on this list. Again, then that wasn't planned. Now, so brand new scent. I think it is available now. I think you can get it on the Nissaba website. Spaced Out says, I love Gondil from this brand. Super spicy, earthy vanilla. There are quite a few good ones from this one. Raucus says, I know I'm in the minority with my next statement. I love animals. Have shared my entire life with them. I love those bottles. That's fun. Enjoyed Mr. Thompson, also Lord George and Cousin Matthew. Yvette says, I wish everyone did 10 to 30mm sizes. Is it just me? No, I think we people who watch these sorts of videos do, but they're not terribly economical for brands. Anyway, this is Les Alpes. Oh, I first smelt this at Aix-en in Milan, and I immediately thought it was going to be interesting. It's probably one of the less simple ones on this list, even though it is still kind of a fairly sort of simple, straightforward perfume. But it doesn't end where you think it's going to end based on the start. The opening, it does feel like you're in quite snowy Alps, I think. There is something very, very delightfully cold and crisp and aldehydic and light gleaming on snow, light gleaming on summits type of luminosity to it. It's very, very, very luminous. But as it progresses, you actually, it almost feels as though it's descending the mountain, and you start getting herbs, you start getting lavender, you start getting a feel of geranium. Maybe you even start getting a hint of something darker like Immortelle, and you realise that actually it's taking you into quite traditional fougère territory, and it ends with an unexpectedly retro-ish, 80s-ish type patchouli note. But it's really nicely done. I'm very, very taken with it. And if I don't get a chance to review it properly, I expect I will. You know, at least I've mentioned it now, and I would say, it's well worth checking out. Harja says, I met you at Harrods a couple of months ago at the Armouage event. Oh, thank you very much for coming along. And I asked to take a photo with you. I was starstruck. Well, I hope you were starstruck because you met Renaud, not because you met... You mustn't be starstruck when you... It's very, very sweet of you to mention it. Hello. Thanks for coming to the event. Rita says, I do too, Yvette. Ooh, Yvette what? Oh, yes, wishing about smaller sizes. I like Les Abstraits Belle Âme, but I don't need 100 mils of it. CJonic says, my simple pleasure perfume for this autumn will probably be Hollande by Diptyque. We have a Diptyque coming up. Was able to grab it for a nice discount, and it is very simple, but a great spiced opopanax. And I think those simple perfumes we don't talk about enough here. Regarding autumn scents, says Matthias, has anyone tried Julien Raskinet's Incense Crush? Is it any good? Ooh, what brand is that for? So... Nissaba Les Alpes gets the thumbs up from me. That was number 3 on the list. These are not in any particular order, obviously. They're just in the order in which I think I'm going to do them. Let's go really light now. Gigantic bottle, biggest bottle of the 10, but lightest perfume, because this is a cologne. This is an EDC, and it's from 2022. And it is from the brand that absolutely know what they're doing when it comes to colognes. In fact, they're so confident about their colognes that they put them in huge bottles, and they don't even necessarily... They give you a spray pump if you want to spray, but I think they expect you to splash them. This is Christine Nagel's Eau de Basilic Pourpre, purple basil, of course, for Hermes. And yes, it is a big bottle. And we shall unscrew it. So... This is a cologne. It doesn't pretend to be anything other than a cologne. Interestingly, I was at the London launch just the other day for the new intense version of Barenia, and Christine Nagel was there. And I need to write up some of the things that she said in her presentation, because I think it would make an interesting Substack post. But she talked about concentration of some of the formulas, and the fact that concentration doesn't necessarily isn't directly proportional or necessarily related to sillage and longevity, because she was making the point, she was trying to sort of explain why the new intense Barenia is intense, and it's not just a question of it being more concentrated. And she said that, for example, Eau de Citron Noir, which I think was... No, it wasn't the first cologne she did for Hermes, but it was one of the first colognes she did for Hermes. Even though it lasts quite a long time, she said because of the structure of the formula and because of the ingredients, they were able to dose it at 5%. And apparently that is all that is dosed at. And I would imagine that in the case of the purple basil one, it's probably dosed at a similar sort of percentage, because it is an eau de cologne. Anyway, purple basil from Hermes. This is really attractive. One of their better colognes, I think. It does have a basil feel to it, as you would hope. It's got that kind of slightly metallic, slightly minty... I mean, could we describe basil as a kind of metallic mint? How would you describe the smell of basil? There's something earthy about basil as well. Something just a bit borderline off-putting, but definitely something metallic for me. Like, too much basil is... really too much. There's a limit with basil, isn't there? There's a line with basil. You've got to dose it carefully. But she softens it. She softens it with something that maybe feels a bit iris-like, or maybe a bit orangey, bitter orangey, maybe a suggestion of something like neroli. It's a really nicely done cologne in a genre where you would have thought that everything's been done to death. But Hermes have time and time again found new areas to explore in the cologne, like with Narcisse Bleu many years ago now. Jean-Claude Eleanor gave us a very interesting cologne. That one didn't last very long, which was a shame. But their Scarlet Rhubarbe, or was it Rhubarbe Écarlate? I can never remember whether that was Christine Nagel's or the Neroli Doré, because they released two at the same time, and one was Jean-Claude Eleanor's final one and Christine Nagel's first one. Anyway, this is a really, really nicely done, and again, a very, very simple pleasure. Concentré d'Orange Vert is also wonderful, says Omar. Completely agree. I mean, some of those older colognes as well. I love Mandarine Ambré. That could have been on this list as well. Afonso says, too much basil is really not good, both in fragrances and food, but this is a great cologne. I'm glad you agree. Rita says, is the Intense Barenia better than the original? Haven't tried that yet. I need to think about it. My feeling is that maybe it is. It is definitely more intense, and it's definitely pepperier at the top, and it projects more. I think I prefer the intense one. But the funny thing about Barenia and me is that everybody kept saying that it would be really, really polarizing, and I know lots of people who adore it and lots of people who really can't stand it. But it didn't polarize me at all, as it were. I'm not indifferent about it. I think it's very, very pleasant, but I think Twilly is much more interesting, and I think Gallo is much more interesting. But do check out the Intense Barenia. It's well worth seeking out. Okay, next up, so we get to number 5. What should we do? Let's do this one. This is from 2024, and it was a scent that, as far as I'm aware, didn't actually even make it to the UK as part of this brand's range. So if you were UK based and you wanted to get it, you either had to order it or get it in a shop in France, which is what I did. So from 2024, from Monsieur Serge Lutens, composed by Christopher Sheldrake. Of course, it was one of the ones in his summery range, in his light range, and this was the Point du Jour, which apparently just means the point of dawn, the point of daybreak. Really attractive, and again, simple, and some might put it in the category of a cologne type scent, but it completely eschews all of those cologne type cliches. Ombre Narguilé is great too, says Xabi. I completely agree, but that's an Hermescence, right? Or have we started talking about Hermescence now? Yeah, this really, really does fit its description extremely well, because it's meant to be Provence on a really kind of crackling hot summer's day. I mean, okay, summer, but I'm including it for autumn, but hey, I don't care. I think autumn can also be quite warm in Provence. Offinlich says, this is the last of the 4 matins that I'm still missing. Well, try and get a sample. I think you might like it. And it's thyme and a touch of labdanum and maybe lavender and some kind, maybe like a sort of tarragony type herb, and that's it. And eucalyptusy, camphoraceous eucalyptusy type feel as well. But it's all those sorts of notes done really well, very convincingly, doesn't overstay its welcome, doesn't try to pretend, to be anything it isn't. And it does capture that sense of waking up to a new day. And if that isn't a simple pleasure, just enjoying a sunrise or a sunset, then I don't know what is. And so that's why it's on this list. A good honey note, says Cap, is nice for the fall. I would agree. I can't get enough of Amouage's Journey Woman and Guerlain's Rose Barbare lately. Yvette says Puente rocks. It's time for Gallivant. Well, yeah. I mean, although Puente's perfumes tend to be quite complex, don't they? So I mean, there isn't a Puente on this list today, but as you know, I am a fan of the brand. Rita says, it's getting harder and harder to find Serge Lutens in the UK, and I don't know why. I think, the implication there is that it's not selling as well as it should. I think Shiseido, the brand owners, do the best they can to publicise new releases, but maybe it's just not resonating with UK buyers. I don't know. And I think they're also putting a lot of their time and energy onto online retail. Whether that's a good idea, time will tell. Okay, we've done 5, and you are watching our top 10 list for autumn 2025, perfumes that somehow convey a sense of simple pleasures. And I think we will do our tangent now and go to the +1. The reason this is a +1 is because this is quite hard to get. As far as I know, it's available only in Sicily, but I guess if you're in Italy, you could do it as a mail order thing. I picked it up in my travels. I have no idea when it was released. I don't even actually know what the brand is, if I show you the bottle, you can see that it's called Zagara Paradiso, and it looks as though the brand might be Zagara, or is the brand Zagara Paradiso? I don't know. But I smelt this in what wasn't even a perfume shop. It was a sort of art gallery, knickknacks type shop. And I smelt it because, of course, I can't ever walk past perfumes without smelling them. And I thought, oh my goodness, Zagara is orange blossom, I believe. Somebody will tell me if I'm wrong. And I thought, goodness me, somebody was inspired by Abbey Rouge when they made this, because it kind of is Abbey Rouge if it were a more citrus-heavy cologne. So the emphasis is on the orange blossom, but it's also surprisingly got that kind of gently sweet, powdery leatheriness that we associate with Abbey Rouge. It's got that kind of ambery vanillic base. It is just so charming, really, really attractive. Doesn't last terribly long, but then I don't think it's the kind of scent that would even try to last very long. It was not expensive at all. So if you like the sound of it, look it up, see if they can ship it to where you live. But that's why it's on here, because again, it's got that kind of old school soap, hotel soap, or even like, high quality hand wipe, like the type of, gorgeous high quality hand wipes they used to get on airplanes back in the day. It's got all of that feel to it, and it's just really, really nicely done. Very, very attractive. Is this the sneaky one? Asks Xabi. Yes, this is our plus one. This sounds mouth-watering, so of course it's HTF. Hard to find, says Steve. I thought, what on earth is HTF? Interesting, says K. Abbey Rouge EDT is already quite citrus-heavy. Yes, but with Abbey Rouge EDT, I don't think you ever think you're wearing a cologne. Whereas this is definitely kind of taking the Abbey Rouge idea, the Abbey Rouge structure, and making it more of a cologne. Speaking of Abbey Rouge, Yvette, and we're always happy to speak about Abbey Rouge, I found a 2005 EDT and gave it to my son for his 25th birthday this weekend, a gift from my father who adored it. My son loves it. Excellent. Your son has impeccable taste. Really, really, I'm really, really pleased to know that there are 25-year-olds out there who are impressed by Abbey Rouge. That's very, very encouraging and gratifying. Right, we need to get on with our list because time is pressing. What should we do next? I'm trying to think, what should I end with? Okay, let's do this one next. This is from 2021, which actually makes it a bit of an old one as far as this list is concerned. And this is a sort of flanker. I considered including the original, but then I thought, no, I actually prefer some of these flankers to the originals. Very, very controversial original, because the original is none other than Molecule 01 from Escentric Molecules, the brand founded by Geza Schön, who is, of course, the perfumer of the brand as well. Controversial. Why? Because it was a perfume that just consisted of one molecule. But since then, he has given us flanker-type versions of Molecule 01, when they're molecule plus something. So we've had plus patchouli, I think there was a black tea, I think there was a gaiac wood. The one that I am presenting to you today is Molecule 01 plus iris. You could have gone for the mandarin, I suppose, but I just thought, let's do the iris. And again, Simple Pleasures is exactly what you get with these sorts of perfumes. For those of you who don't know, and I suspect there aren't many of you who don't know, but ISO-E Super, which is basically what Molecule 01 is a very, very, very ubiquitous material in perfumery. Not only because it smells very attractive, but because it's extremely helpful in a lot of formulas. There are a lot of perfumes out there that have a huge, huge, huge proportion of ISO-E Super, in the same way that a lot of perfumes have a huge proportion of a material called hedione. It is meant to smell, or we're told that it smells quite a lot like cedar wood, and indeed it does. And a lot of the time, if you look at a perfume notes list and you see that it contains cedar, you can be pretty sure, if it's a modern perfume, that it's going to contain a lot of isoe super. It's a very good kind of blending ingredient as well, and you immediately get that kind of transparent, light, uncomplicated, undemanding, cedary woodiness without the kind of slightly tangy, sour aspect, which I love, that you get in actual natural cedarwood oil. And because it's a +1, the iris note comes in, and the iris makes it, I guess, a bit drier, a bit earthier, a bit more autumnal, I suppose. The colour starts heading more into russets and ochres and ambers, and you picture leaves falling from the trees. It also maybe makes it a bit sadder, and so I'm kind of thinking, so why have I got it on a Simple Pleasures? But maybe there is, the simple pleasure of listening to a melancholy piece of music, that kind of thing. I think it's one of the better flankers from Molecular One, and I definitely prefer it to original Molecular One. Rorker says, I just found the Molecule 1 Plus Iris for $50 A boutique was selling off all their Molecule line. It is simply beautiful. There you go. Agreement. Offenlich says, Cashmeran would be the most autumnal of the 5 molecules, in my opinion. Cashmeran, yes, absolutely. That would work really, really well. Beloved by Mathilde Laurent. Okay, we have 4 to go. Let's do one that we definitely haven't talked about very much on this channel. This is from 2023, composed by the very, very talented Stéphanie Bacouche, and it is from the brand Nose Republic, which until recently was not known to me, and this is their Moonchild. Now, as far as simple pleasures go, I think this one probably counts as the kind of weirdest of the simple pleasures, the oddest of the simple pleasures, the slightly more, the kind of otherworldliest, if I can coin an adjective, of the simple pleasures, because it really, Moonchild is a great name for it, because it uses aldehydes in a really fascinating way, and it is quite strangely incensey, quite strangely mineralic, quite strangely chalky and dusty and white, and it does sort of make you think about what the surface of the moon might be like, and there is an oddness to it, which I suppose is a contradiction then with the idea of the simple pleasures. But if you if you accept the oddness, then actually it seems to be presenting in quite a simple way this idea of travelling up to the moon, being on the moon, or even just staring up at the moon. It is an interesting composition, and actually I need to give it more time. I should wear it more often, or at least smell it more often. She's done really, really interesting work here, Stéphanie Bacouche, with the aldehydes and with incense, and I don't know with what else. But it somehow manages to feel both familiar and otherworldly. And maybe that's what I was thinking when I decided to include it on the list, but well worth checking out. CJ says, as someone whose first deep dive into fragrance was with molecular perfumes, I'm getting pretty burnt out on isoe super bombs. They're a bit too sanitized and transparent. Well, yeah, there is that. I mean, Jean-Claude Eleanor loves his isoe super as well. Sounds a little like L'Orpheline, says K. Now that would be an interesting comparison. L'Orpheline, for me, just feels a bit sadder and a bit more tender and a bit more delicate. It maybe because it starts presenting something a bit more herbal, whereas this doesn't do that herbal thing, and it just feels as though it's hovering several miles above our planet, whereas L'Orpheline, I think, is more grounded. But very, very, very interesting comparison. You're right, that there is definitely a connection there. A simple pleasure for me, says Perfumed by the Sea, is Rendezvous by Sonia. It was CF. I reviewed that, didn't I? Wasn't that done by Antoine Lee, if memory serves. That was a good perfume as well. Created by Antoine Lee. Yeah, thank you very much. That gunpowder and iris makes me want to wrap up in a blanket and listen to jazz. Good description. Mitra says, ooh, caught the live. Hi, Mitra. You're very, very welcome here. And what else are folks saying? DF says, love Bois Mystérieux, even though I don't often wear it. I find it hard to pull off. Who's that by? That I'm not sure if I remember who that was by. And Alex says, I can also recommend Épices Exquises by Guerlain for an autumnal pleasure. I seem to remember liking that one. That was the cardamom heavy one, wasn't it? By Thierry, I think, by Thierry Vassar. Okay, 3 to go for our autumn top 10. Let's do this one next. A brand that I mentioned a few weeks ago, I think, actually, for their new scent. This is a perfume that it's not one that I personally wear, but I know it has a lot of fans out there, and I do admire how it works. From 2022, this is from Isabelle Larignon, from her own brand, Isabelle Larignon, and it's her Milky Dragon. And I know a lot of you out there are very, very fond of it. What's Jose saying? Wow, I've never been able to figure out when you go live. Happy me. Hi from, where's that? Far, Texas. The reason why you haven't been able to figure out when I go live, and it's nothing to do with you, is because I hardly ever know when I'm going live. It's just a question of trying to find times. Sundays at 5 p.m. UK time, which is midday New York, seems to be a time that I seem to be able to do more often than not. But it isn't always the case, and I can tell you now there aren't going to be any videos this weekend. I'm not going to be able to do any videos this weekend. But yes, I try to give at least 24 hours notice of videos. Sometimes I manage to give 48. But yeah, sorry, I know it plays havoc with people's plans. Anyway, Milky Dragon from Isabelle Larignon. What are folks saying about it? First live of the new season, says David. I want to see if people have smelt this one. Smark says, I think Iris, or Iris from Hermes, is a simple pleasure, but I somehow always want it to be stronger or more. I like that one too. Yvette says, this is a lovely one, but it gives me Trahi vibes, which I like better, so I've not got it. My skin is weird. Now that's interesting. I can't say that I've thought of Trahi, but that is interesting. I actually find Milky Dragon a scent that's quite difficult to describe, which is what I find fascinating about it, because I can see that it is milky and it is creamy, and I really am not sure how that effect is being created, but it's also got an almost lychee-like floral aspect to it, maybe rose, maybe something plummy. What's curious about it, and I've never actually thought of it in these terms, what I'm about to say just came into my head now. It's one of the most complex, simple perfumes I've encountered for a long time, because what you smell, or what you appear to smell, is a wholeness. You seem to smell one abstract thing, which conveys a kind of serenity and a sort of whiteness. But you sort of realise that this wholeness and this serenity has actually been achieved through a very, very finely calibrated, finely tuned balance of lots of things. It's not easy to pick out individual components here, and I think that's quite an interesting way of working. And it's like, throw as much as you can in, and yet make it seem as though all you've presented is 2 or 3 materials, and also don't make them very easily recognizable. It's a fascinating way of working, and I'm not sure it's the kind of thing that many perfumers would be able to pull off. Because you think you're getting rose, but then you think, oh, but it's not quite rosy. You think you're getting almost like a kind of whipped cream milk accord, but then you think, no, that's not it. You think you're getting orange blossom. You think you're getting plummy fruit type stuff. It's really interesting. It's really interesting. And it also manages to stay quite discreet, quite quiet, quite close to the skin, but it does last. Matthew says, the association with the dragon, I think, has to do with the oolong tea that inspired her. And yeah, tea is another, actually, an interesting one, because you sort of get that too, but not quite. A fascinating piece of work. DF says, I've discovered Milky Dragon this summer in an old perfumery in Nantes, inside the historic Galerie Pommeraine. It was pleasurable, but I didn't find it memorable. Maybe I was already oversaturated. No, but I think it's the kind of scent that would do that to you, because it's very, very easy to dismiss, and yet you kind of find yourself thinking about it and thinking you want to figure it out, thinking you want to work it out. Okay. 2 to go. I think I know which one I'm going to finish on. Let's do the other one by Fabrice Pellegrin. This is from 2023. And this is the one that I think shares quite a bit of DNA with the 2023 Penhaligons. Regular viewers will know where we're going here. I'm a big fan of this perfume. It is for Diptyque, his L'Eau Papier, his paper water. CJ Lamb says, very tempted to hit checkout on Milky Dragon and call it a birthday treat to myself. See, I always say to people, sample first. Do they sort of send a sample as well, so that you can kind of like send the full bottle back? Because I'd hate to be responsible for a disappointment. But at least you'd be supporting a truly independent brand. L'Eau Papier, Fabrice Pellegrin, one of the best diptyques of recent years, no question. I really, really like it. And I think I waxed lyrical about it for ages and ages when it came out. Rorka says, L'Eau Papier, and lots of emojis that appear to be endorsing the selection. So why do I say it's similar to the Penhaligons? Because it's also got that kind of roasted feel to it, but not overtly nutty, not overtly sesame-like. It's rice paper, isn't it? And I think that's the connection with the paper. It's a little bit sweeter, and it's more tender, it's more delicate, and it's whiter than the Penhaligons. I think that's what I loved about this. It's what you would want to wear, I think, if you were wearing just like a gorgeously crumpled white linen outfit. You know how if it's going to be crumpled linen, somehow it only white linen looks really, really stunning, you know, sort of breathtaking when it's crumpled, and you would want the white linen to smell of this. And again, in some ways, quite an abstract composition. I hope it's done well for Diptyque, because I honestly think it's one of the best things that they've given us in recent years. Really, really nicely done. Matthew says, I saw L'Eau Papier and immediately thought of Pour un homme de Caron, but that's really overtly lavender-like, isn't it? Is that, for what reason did you think of the Caron? Maybe I'm missing the connection. Alex says, I'm still thinking about Eau Capitale. I'm not sure if I really need it because I have several bottles of Portrait of a Lady. Maybe you don't need it, I don't know. Offenlich says, I wish the papery rice feeling of this would last longer. It dries down into a sweet musk rather early on me, but I still love it. Yeah, I get what you're saying. David says, my 2025 autumn scents so far are Epic, Jubilation, Avignon and Papier. I'm guessing Epic and Jubilation from Amouage, right? Avignon, I keep hearing that Comme des Garçons Avignon is being discontinued or it's gone. That is one perfume that I cannot be without. And okay, finally we get to last but not least on this list of the top 10 perfumes for autumn 2025, perfumes that somehow convey a sense of simple pleasures. And it's from a perfumer who, in a way, exemplifies this style of perfumery. We've already kind of had something from him, but not the version that he gave us in the form of the perfume that we started with. And I think we just need to go for it. From 2003, from L'Artisan Parfumeur, this is Jean-Claude Ellena's Bois Farine. I love this stuff, and again, it's that. We've definitely got a sort of subset here of perfumes like L'Eau Papier, like the Penhaligons, Omniscient, Mr. Thompson, and Bois Farine, which go for this kind of roasted, nutty quality. Now, I am told that the current version is a bit different. I don't know. I'm really, really wary of trying the current version, but I have also been told that it's actually in pretty good condition. Suki says, L'Eau Papier reminds me of my childhood in Japan, paper sliding doors. Ah, well, that's a fantastic reference. Did it genuinely make you think of the paper doors in Japan? That's brilliant if it did. CJ says, what I like best about L'Eau Papier is its unapologetic savoury bent and its more balanced, restrained approach to laundry notes. Yeah, exactly. Fantastic description. And Matthew, going back to the Caron, it reminded me of Pour un homme due to its tenderness and complex simplicity. Okay. Right, Bois Farine. It's so clever, it's so clever. So, farine obviously is the French word for flour, as in Flour, flour. So it's flower wood, flowery wood. And it's nutty, and it really, really makes you think of a kind of cloud of flour, a puff of flour. But you also don't mind the idea of smelling of that. I mean, it is just genius. It's one of the most original creations. I don't know how he achieves it, whether it's through a cedar effect, probably lots of isoe super in here as well. Very, very, very clever use of musks, I would have thought. Somebody, a perfumer that I spoke to once, said that she reckoned there's quite a lot of mimosa in here. And as it happens, not long after that, I was able to interview Jean-Claude Helena about something. And I did say to him, I said, oh, is there a lot of mimosa? And he just sort of shook his head. He said, no, there's no mimosa in here. But you can see why somebody would think it might be mimosa, because it's got that slightly milky, buttery, powdery, white, gently yellow feel to it. It's really, really special and really, really, really distinctive. Ninak says, Bois Farine is the weirdest perfume in my collection. It's like a texture you can smell. Completely. You almost like want to rub your fingers as though you're rubbing the flour in between your fingers. But what's interesting also is that it's not yeasty. It is flour. It smells of, well, I guess it smells of wheat. It smells of really, really good bread. And even though it smells so overtly of these foodie things, it also smells like something you want to smell of. You don't mind spraying this on yourself. Very, very clever. Okay, we are done. Thank you very much. As I say, if you're watching the recording, please feel free to come up with suggestions and recommendations of your own. And I should also say, if you have enjoyed the video, please do give it a thumbs up, because that is really helpful. Stay tuned to social media for info about new videos coming your way. But until next time, and for the whole of this autumn and beyond, may you always, always be able to enjoy lots of simple, uncomplicated pleasures in your life, wherever you may be. And let us try to keep sharing simple pleasures with as many people as possible. Thanks for watching. Bye now.